Co-Responder is somebody from one of the other uniformed services, so fire brigade, police, military especially. And what they do is they will volunteer in their own time to go out as part of the ambulance service, unpaid, and provide a medical service. So whenever anyone calls 999 and an ambulance can't get to them soon enough, then they'll send one of us. My name is Dave Smith. I'm Puma crewman on 230 Squadron.
I'm Vinnie Moore and I am a sergeant here at RAF Benson on 606 Squadron.
My name's Josie Wales. I'm a corporal in the Air Force working with Puma Components as an aircraft engineer at the moment.
My name's Alan Vickery. I'm an electrician in the Royal Air Force. I've been involved with the Co-Responders for 4 years now.
My name's Steve Gulliford. I've been involved in co-responding with the ambulance service since 2006.
It could be anything ranging from trauma injuries such as breaks to cardiac arrests, strokes.
We generally don't go to road traffic collisions or incidents involving childbirth, but just about everything else you can think of, from the mundane trips, slips and falls, right through to the most serious incident, probably a cardiac arrest.
You know, you will get information passed through to the vehicle, which you will really think will be quite a traumatic thing to go to, and it turns out to be something quite superfluous in the sense that it's, you know, if a dispatcher asks the question, well, how much blood has been lost? Because the public are, you know, not used to this sort of situation, they will probably tell you there's gallons have gone. When you turn up, there's 1 or 2 spots on the floor.
Sometimes you can be told it's a stroke and you can walk into a heart attack. Sometimes you can walk in told it's a heart attack and turn out to be a cut finger. You just never know what you're going to get. It's just completely random.
The kind of things we tend to come across are people falling over, especially the elderly or young children, all the way up to cardiac arrests or respiratory arrest, and everything else in between, so strokes, diabetics, everything else you could possibly think of.
I've had a call which we were told it was difficulty of breathing, and as we walked in the door, we went upstairs, and the gentleman in question was in a wheelchair, and he looked at us, gave a big gasp, then just slumped on the floor. So he effectively stopped breathing. So we put him on the floor, checked all his vital signs and started CPR, and then 4 or 5 minutes later he just started breathing again. We were very lucky, or he was.
If you use CCS as an example, that's the sort of bare bones of what you would need. The difference with the military form of medical training is predominantly trauma, because that's what you're likely to see in a battlefield. The training that we get now, the clinical skills, are more medical, because you tend to deal with a lot more medical issues rather than trauma. Although there is trauma, it's a lot less likely that you will come across it.
We get taught how to use a defibrillator, oxygen, that sort of thing.
If you're suitable, and then you can be nominated for a driver's course, which is 3 weeks, and it's with an ex-traffic policeman of 30 years experience.
We then get ongoing training and support from our colleagues in the ambulance service at each of the jobs we go to, and you just build up your experience as you go to more and more jobs.
Had an immediate job come through within 300-400 yards of the scene. I've hit mobile, and then we're going to go to Bracknell, which is 5 miles in this direction. So Pete's going to switch the blues on, we'll pull away, claim all the exemptions which we're allowed to under blue lights, as long as it's safe to do so, and then we'll carry on. It's an elderly gentleman, 98 years old. Again, they're warning us it's a dangerous area, either fluids or from where he's fallen. And we've got the address coming up.
Turn left in 60 metres.
Yeah, we just responded to the red call, and it was turned out to be a 98-year-old gentleman who had tripped and fallen over his walker. His walker ended up on top of him, and we just made him stable, reassured him, took some observations. Truck, as you can see, is loading him up now, taking him off to the hospital to have his heart rate fully checked, and we're just about to clear from the scene to become available again. Yeah, it's a pretty routine call. He was quite a nice gentleman, he was quite lively, which is always good, especially when they walk in and they talk to you. He knew what was going on, he didn't remember falling, he remembers why he fell, and he was conscious all the way through, which is always good. And it's just a question of getting the observations, and I think it's out of ordinary for him.
My name's Robert Mile. I'm actually a clinical mentor at High Wycombe Ambulance Station, but also a paramedic. And I've been working for the health service for 30 years. Well, I work on an ambulance, and typically with co-responders, I will be second on scene after they have arrived. Co-responders give that extra dimension towards the ambulance service, so they're quite valuable in the fact that they can get to a scene before, if no ambulance is available, or before an ambulance that has to travel further. So it gives that treatment to a patient long before a crew turn up. They've done a quick assessment of the patient. They will then pass that assessment over to us. We'll obviously do a few checks on the patient, make our decisions, and generally speaking, the co-responders will hang around and help with getting equipment, getting out of the house and stuff like that. I've backed them up on a cardiac arrest to a young chap, I think he was in his 30s, early 40s, they had worked on for a good 10 or 15 minutes before we turned up. They'd done really, really good CPR. They had improved his outcome no end. I was able to give drugs, I was able to tube him. We were able to get him off to the hospital, giving the family a little bit of hope. Unfortunately, he didn't survive, but that's through his illness more than anything else. I think looking at it, the responders who were on scene were probably age of his son, and you know, he was just a few years older than me, and that was actually quite a wake-up call, and made me think for a little while about firstly how well they'd done, but basically his age made me sit and think, and I, to be fair, hoped that they would turn up to me if ever I was in that kind of situation.
Basically, when you sign on, Control then give you a standby point to go and wait, basically. So now we're just obviously following that system, taking us to the centre of Oxford. You never know with this standby point. November Foxtrot 803, send over. Basically, a couple of members of public found the young girl fitting in the bus stop. Wasn't really a lot we could do because, according to our equipment, there didn't appear to be anything wrong with her. So eventually she seemed to come around and decided she didn't want to go to hospital, so we let her go.
if you wanted to join, you'd need to be able to have a laugh. You need to be able to take a joke. You need to be able to take some of the abuse that is thrown at you, generally not meant personally. You need to be sympathetic. You need to be well organised, and you need to be able to work under pressure and not show any emotion.
I think personally, the discipline. Like you go to certain jobs. One job in particular I went to, a lady had slipped and basically broke her leg. Both of the bones were sticking out the bottom of her ankle, sort of thing. And obviously natural instinct is, oh, that's not good. Swear word. Don't want to say it, yeah, and the professionalism kind of takes over, doesn't it? The discipline from the training, from the military training as well as the medic training, and you just carry on with the situation.
You've got to love the job that is what we call the left seat, which is the medic's job. You've got to be good and comfortable and happy with that job. And the driving, you get just as much excitement out of that as you do the medic.
And come out and do some observing shifts, because some people think that all you do is drive around on blue lights, and it's not like that. And you can sit for many hours at a standby point, covering that area and not get anything. You can go out for a shift and not get anything. On the other hand, you can go out and get all kinds of calls.
Yeah.
As for the characteristics of an individual, you do need to be driven, you do need to be motivated, because there are times of the year, non-specific, where you will spend an awful lot of time waiting for something to happen, and you have to accept that.
Is this professionalism and the ethos of kind of working as a team, really. You're not an individual, you are a team looking at the bigger picture. And if Al will go in and start talking about things, then and he'll do the same for me. We start, what pieces of equipment you each need. So I'll put his hand down, and I'll put the kit he needs there, and he'll put it on. So you know what each other are thinking, if that makes sense, because we work very closely together, and you do tend to have some very strange conversations on the downtime on shift as well. Very strange. We solve all kinds of world problems. And probably make a few as well.
There's probably 3 or 4 different skills. The first one definitely is a sense of humour. Making people laugh is almost as good as treatment sometimes. It just takes the edge off. Confidence, to be able to take control of a situation when someone might be absolutely hysterical, such as the child in cardiac arrest. You need someone that can just grip things. Needs to be someone that can think on their feet, and also someone that is determined.
Personally, I'd say make sure you want to do it. It's not for the faint-hearted, should we say. I mean, I've been to some jobs and I thought, if I didn't really want this, if I didn't really enjoy it, I'd walk away. You see some quite awful sights, but on the flip side to it, you get some fantastic jobs. So
it's the thanks people give you when you leave, and you've made a difference, and you've been there with a crew working in conjunction. That's what makes it worthwhile doing for me.
Yeah.
I was a little bit downhearted, because at that point, after the job, that's when the emotion set in. It was like a little bit down, because we thought we hadn't done our job. To which point, as we were driving off, the paramedic came running out, banged on the window, and was elated to tell us that this individual had started to breathe. And that just really made it for us. It really, really was quite a happy moment. I felt about 22 feet tall at this point.
I think genuinely, and it sounds a bit of a cliche, is making a difference. It's quite heartening to go in and see someone that, when they're out of need, they really think it's coming to the end of their life and they're never going to make it. Their wife or husband or family is there, and they're getting really emotional and think that this is the end. And actually, when you walk in, automatically everyone calms down, everything's going to be okay, and you can calm that patient down. And then when they do end up getting taken away in an ambulance, they're in a lot better position. It's quite rewarding seeing that. And obviously the times when you do go out to people, that things like cardiac arrest, when you get them back, there's no better feeling. Someone's alive on this earth now because of something that you've done than they otherwise wouldn't have been.